Hi, welcome to Convos to Connect. I'm your host, Dorothy Kamak. This blogcast is a space to discover peace in the present through the connecting power of conversations. On today's episode, I am delighted to talk with ChelsiaCheckal. Chelsia's positive energy is contagious, and it is evident her joy is rooted in Jesus. She's a wife, mama to 3 little children, and creator of the blog Move With Him. Join us today as we talk about embracing grace-filled growth, intentional living, and practical ways to be present. This episode is especially great for wives trying to balance it all, mamas of littles, recovering legalists, and anyone who wants to feel more joy and be filled with more hope. Chelsia speaks directly to my heart, and I know she will resonate with yours too. So, let's get to the conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Convos to Connect. And I am super excited today because I am Skyping and wanted to share with you guys a new friend of mine. And her name is ChelsiaCheckal. And welcome to the show. How are you? Good. Where are you coming to us from, Chelsia?
We are in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Ooh,
So
awesome.
just moved from Minnesota, though, so I'm getting used to saying that.
Yes, cool. Literally, she just moved, and we're probably going to talk a little bit about your transition. And 'cause I know some of my folks have experienced that like big moves and transitions. So I think you could probably speak to that. But Chelsia and I just met in July in Charlotte at She Speaks in a really cool elevator moment. Those things actually exist. And as y'all can probably see, she just, she's one of those bright, shiny people that has a smile on her face. And we immediately connected and had a brief interaction, but she encouraged me so much. It was my first time at She Speaks, and so through the power of connecting and social media, we have stayed in touch. So why I wanted to bring you on the show is just to kind of talk about your journey and, what brought you to where you are today. So can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm a mama of 3 little babies.
Yes.
Well, they aren't technically babies, but they're still pretty little. 5, 4, and 2. So we're in the throes of the craziness of littles. I've been married for almost 8 years to my high school sweetheart.
Oh, awesome.
So, and then as we had already mentioned, we're on what we keep referring to as like our adventure. We just picked up and moved our whole family a little over a month ago to a new state. Like, we don't know anybody here, just having an adventure. We feel like God called us here. So, and then I write. I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I write as well. And my heart is really just for women. I love connection with women, honest, good connection. So any way that I can do that, I do.
That is awesome. And Chelsia has a great blog, which is kind of how I've gotten to know her a little bit more, is reading some of her stuff. Your blog is called Move With Him. How did that come about? The tagline, I'm going to read the site description for everyone, and I'll, of course, link so they can read it. This space is meant for the real ones, those who hunger more for Jesus than looking like a good Christian. Because life is messy and glorious, all wrapped up in one, when we serve a Savior who walks with us daily. And when I read that, when I first connected with you on social media after we had met in person, I was like, yes, like, give me more. So can you just kind of tell us how you went from stay-at-home mom, wife, to having this blog?
Honestly, I didn't want to have a blog.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of a journey that had to go on. I resisted the Lord on it for a long time. I've always loved writing, so it wasn't a matter of not wanting to write.
Right.
But I came with a lot of insecurity and doubt and worry. So when the Lord made it very clear that He wanted me to start a blog, I resisted for, well over a year. I just kept like, no. And I would just audibly have in my prayer time with Him, like, I don't have anything to offer. What would people want to, read in my stuff, like all of that stuff that sits under the surface for most of us, all those insecurities bubbled up in me when he asked me to start a blog. But one day I was driving home from a coffee shop with a friend, and I just felt, I never hear God audibly, okay, but in my spirit, I felt him say, start a blog. And so I kind of wrestled through that and went home, and I just was like, okay, fine, then I'm going to sit down for 2 minutes. I'm just going to type what a blog would even be. Like, what would I even write about? And I'm sure when I'm done writing it, I'm going to be like, yep, see, not going to happen. It's horrible. So I sat down and I wrote for 2 minutes, and after I was done doing that, I read it back to myself, and I just began to bawl because I was like, oh, Lord, I see it. I began to see the pieces. And so, I started this blog having no idea. Like, I think one of my first posts, I'm like, I don't know why I'm blogging. But I just have continued to do it, and God has been so gracious and so patient with me as I've been growing as a writer. And I write to encourage women and to provide space. Like, my big thing is I'm a recovering legalist. Totally grew up in like the 90s generation, and although there's a lot of beauty about that, it was like the WWJD, and my husband and I refer to it as prescribed faith, where like you have a problem and someone says, here's your Bible verse, and you'll be on your way, happy-go-lucky, put on a smile, all is well. And so I like totally say all the time, I'm a recovering legalist. And so I feel like this blog space is one where I'm like peeled off the layers of myself and said, come on in, and faith is messy, and let's just let's embrace that, and let's talk about it.
Yes.
And so that's kind of what my blog has ended up being.
I love that. And I think you're really speaking to so much of us kind of in this generation that did grow up, either totally immersed in that, legalism culture, or had pieces of that, that really blocked, a deeper understanding of what, grace, based like obedience really looks like, and just makes God, smaller than he truly is. So I think, for those out there who feel like they're kind of in that, space right now, Chelsea speaks a lot to grace, and I love that you're in the mess and you talk about the mess, but you do have that encouragement part to it, because I think sometimes we can too get like, oh, I'm just like, we get in the mess part a lot, or we're in the, we got it all together, self-righteous thing, let me just check this list, or it's like, like hopeless, we can kind of get down. So can you talk about a little bit, because I really want to encourage people to head over to your site, the having, questions kind of for reflection, and, just encouraging the conversation. I love that your blog feels more like a dialogue, which is, I think, how God is just, it's how he's worked in my life. So, can you speak to that for someone who's not been to your site before?
Yeah, so I love that you use the word grace, because that is just such a familiar rhythm in my life of what I have to cling to. So I talk a lot about inhaling grace so that we can exhale grace to other people's lives. So I often include a going deeper section in the bottom of my blog post, because here's my thing. I'm all about grace and encouragement, but if we don't take it and do anything with it, if we just read something, like if you come to my blog and you read something, you walk away, you're like, oh, that's nice. Then I feel like I failed you, because I need to go deeper. I need more. I'm kind of like a deep feeler, a reflective person.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking forward. So when you come to my blog, you're going to get that. You're going to get the sense of like, I want you to inhale grace, encouragement, but I want you to walk away with an opportunity to have wisdom. We know it comes straight from the Lord. That's the only place I get it from, or from my own mess. I gain it. But I want people to walk away feeling like they have something to chew on, like some substance, because if not, then I've just given you fluff, and what good is that?
Right.
I just feel like grace without truth is fluff.
That's so true. And I like that you said chew on, because it's the questions, in the little time that I've read your blog, they're deep, but there's something to kind of marinate on. They're not like, okay, here's Chelsia's homework for tonight, and let me figure this out and like take the next step in my faith, which, I can tend to have like a bend to of like, okay, when I'm in my let me get myself together phase, it's like, let me check all this stuff out. Your questions, there's something to think about. And as God works in our heart and shifts, it's like the change and the shift, comes from just, having that, kind of on your radar in a deeper way than just here's my prescription, which is, kind of what you were talking about earlier. That's awesome. Okay, so you were a mom, you're a wife, you just moved, unsettledness. When circumstances are completely out of your control. And in a sense, our circumstances they're always out of our control, but we like to believe the lie that, we can control things. So what we talk a lot about on my site is living settled in an unsettled life, and having that inner peace and joy no matter the circumstance or what lesson or trial or even awesome time you're going through. So can you talk to that just kind of in your life? I have a lot of friends who are moms. I'm not a mom. I'm not a wife. How you get that peace, not so much in the broader sense, but are there tactics that you kind of use or sacred parts of your day that kind of have developed being a wife and a mom?
Yeah, I love this question because I feel like this is a working thing in my life all the time. So just a couple things. So one is that I talk a lot about soul food. And so I'll post on Facebook different pictures, or I'll blog about that. And usually that involves taking time to pause, because I believe we get a lot of peace from the pause. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes it's like things like I was on a run yesterday and just ran out of my way to go to a waterfall, and I just sat there and I'm like, Lord, I just need soul food, and just inhale the beauty of the falls. Or throughout the day I'll light a candle and just take 10 minutes, and if it's opening my Bible, reading my country living magazine, whatever it is, I call it soul food.
That's great.
I just take time. So it takes intention. I mean, definitely. But those are kind of the things that fuel me. But I think you had I wrote something recently about being more content in the, we search for ourselves in all of these things, and I refer to it as the something. We're looking for the something to be the someone. Mm-hmm. And so what I found is, especially in moving here, we have had to really dig in and where's our identity? Because we don't have a church family right now. Right. We don't my husband's job is new. I have Bible study groups. My friends are back in Minnesota. Right. And so I've had to dig in and go, I need to find my someone in Jesus, because I'm in the beginning, grasping for the something everywhere. Mm-hmm. Everywhere I went, I was trying to find my identity, my grounding. Yes. And I realized that it's not in the doing, but it's in the being. Mm. And one of the things I'm transitioning, and just to give people a quick story, is I'm trying to get more organized.
Oh, girl.
This is really funny.
We can talk.
I'm just a free-spirited, fly by the seat of my pants person. Yeah. Well, our family's getting busy enough. Our girls are in school now. We can't function that way anymore. Right. So I kind of hit a wall where I'm shoot. Got on Pinterest, because thank you, Jesus, for Pinterest for some things. How do I even get organized? I literally was how to get organized. Yes. So funny. Set up our command center with our bulletin board and our calendar. Oh, yeah. It's so good for a family. I think my marriage is really benefiting from this.
Yeah, yeah.
But what I found is that our command center is a whole space of do. Mm. And while I'm grateful for it, I look at our calendar and it's do. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm having to dig in, currently, to a deeper space of Lord, in the midst of that do, help me to be. Help me to rest in you. Because when I wake up in the morning and I recenter myself and I say, Lord, I've got a whole bunch of stuff to do, but would you take my day and show me what you have planned for my day? Wow. Suddenly, I live out of a place of being, and I get what, if you're familiar with Bible teacher Priscilla Shire, she refers to as spiritual eyes.
Yes.
And so as we're going through and I'm checking our list, because now I'm more organized, of all the stuff I have to do, suddenly I have this overwhelming sense of be as I see the need around me. And I have lots of stories, so we won't waste our time with that. But it's just seeing people that's in the grocery store or someone at school, conversations that God brings about, and He helps me see them. And then I feel like I'm more in the place of be than I am in the place of do.
That is so great. That's a similar, thing that I'm pressing into right now. And I love that because the do, that's part of our day. I mean, there is work, there is family, there are obligations, there's things that come up. But essentially, like, I love that you shifted, the basis. If it's coming from a deeper space, it's almost like it is a freedom, to not live by the checklist. It's like, you can trust that it's going to get done, and what needs to get done is going to get done because I'm putting it in God's hands. And, it doesn't mean that we don't, work hard and hustle or, whatever, our obligations are. But I love that you put it in a way that you're more aware. So I think that goes back to the intentional thing. I think we are I'm guilty of getting caught up in the busy and just, very taskmaster, very and that totally, when you're kind of in a mindless thing, you're not aware of those potential conversations at the grocery store, or, connecting with a neighbor in a different way. And it sells ourselves short, and it totally, again, makes God so much smaller than He is. So that's a good thing that y'all are working on with your, what did you call it? The command center. The command center. I love that. Okay. So we are officially millennials, right? Actually, I don't know how old you are, but we don't have to discuss that.
We're not supposed to say that. Okay, we just want to admit.
But what, there's a lot of talk right now about millennials and, kind of, are they doomed, or are they the greatest, So, what's something you've learned, or some advice that you would have for someone today, if you were in the grocery store and you were talking to me, what would you say? What was something that, it's just a good little nugget of him?
I have been living out a lot of the message of bravery. So what I would say is be brave and let go. And I think what God has been teaching me is that bravery looks like a whole lot of different things for a lot of people. We tend to think on grand, big schemes for bravery.
Right.
But for some people, bravery is getting up every single day. For some people, it's going to a job and being faithful and obedient. And for other people, it might be the grand adventure of running a marathon, touring every state. That's great too. But I would say be brave, but also let go. Because then I think we live out of a place of peace and contentment. We're able to put aside the whole comparison, the competing, the not owning up. I mean, this is not a new conversation. The internet can be a beautiful but a very scary place that we feel very small in. And so we tend to set our standards, our expectations too high. And so I think bravery can be coupled with the letting go and saying, I'm going to choose grace for myself. I don't need to live up to those standards. And when we do that, we then extend that to other people. We give other people permission to be brave, and we give other people permission to just let go.
That's great. And that is essentially, spreading His light. It's just like taking what He's teaching you and extending that grace is, proclaiming Him even more. And I love that you brought up bravery, because I wanted to read this quote that you had about bravery. You were talking about your daughter's first day of school, and this bravery. These are your words. Bravery is choosing to believe that the dream, the vision, the goal weighs mightily more than the momentary difficulty. And then you go on to say, your brave, as you just talked about, is not measured by human standards. It is held in grace by the hands of God. How freeing is that? Because, we totally do measure things by standards, by our own, the lies we tell ourselves, the internet. So that's beautiful. I love that, Chelsea. Thank you. Okay, couple more things I want to talk about before we have to go. First, you mentioned running. We didn't talk about this before, but I'm fascinated by running because I have a love-hate relationship with it. I love it sometimes. I love the way I feel afterwards, but then I also hate it too. So you're training for a race right now? Is that true? Or you just...
You can call a 5K a race.
That is a race. That is legit.
Okay, it's a race. I'm training for a race.
Yes. Well, cool. I love that. I love that it's, when I think of running, for me, running is so outside of my comfort zone, but it's where God has talked to me, changed me, very much challenged me, and given me a lot of joy. So, and I think that's really how he works. It's that bravery thing too. So doing a 5K is brave, girl. And you're putting your stuff out there, and I love it. I love it. Okay, and then finally,
I just interject something real quick there.
Please.
That I think that the Lord has intended for this time. Just as I was praying about before we chatted, God brought this to my mind, and so you brought up running, and I feel like, yeah, I need to just bring this up. So yesterday, I'm only a month into my running journey, right? So I should be taking it fairly easy still. But I got this wild hair idea that I'm going to run the trail that runs all the way around Sioux Falls. Okay, the city of Sioux Falls. It's almost 20 miles.
Woo.
And I'm like, honey, we were coming home from church. I'm like, I'm going to run that today. It's like, babe, the longest you've run is 5 miles. I'm like, I can do it. I can do hard things. I am so brave. I'm just going to do it. The weather's beautiful. So I got out on the trail. And the first 5 miles were just amazing. Started to get a little bit harder after that because I went out of the city. So how it works is the first part of the trail, the bottom half, you can see how I drew my fingers, is around the bottom half. But then you hit the top part of the city that you have to go around, and there's nothing out there. It's a prison and airports. So I started running around, and it's getting really hot. I didn't bring any water.
Oh, girl.
And my legs are burning so bad. I got to a point that I actually started crying. And I just said, Lord, why do I feel this way? Why is my mind so strong and my body is so weak? And I just feel like I can't do this. It's only 20 miles and I'm falling apart. And the Lord very clearly said, sweetheart, you didn't pray about whether you should be doing this. And so he taught me a really good lesson yesterday, or a good reminder. I just went, you're right. I didn't even take time to consult. And if we don't bring before the Lord, even our bravery things, we don't have wisdom and knowledge to know how to do it or if we should do it. And so there is so much power and peace that comes when we pause long enough to pray.
Wow.
So there was a running lesson yesterday for me.
That is that speaks to me immediately, because I so often, we can be guilty of, myself, not practicing what I preach a lot of the times, getting caught up in telling other people to have peace in the process, to live settled, to start your morning with prayer, and then it's wait a minute, why, no, my morning was telling other people, it's God is talking to you too, and you've got to take a moment to listen to what he's saying and ask and consider. And he does, is it James that says, he who asks for wisdom will get it? I think it's in James. And it's that's where he says in the Bible, I'll give it to you. Just ask. I'm not going to withhold it. It's not, so I think, again, it's making God smaller than he is, and which is, again, my journey and the journey I'm sharing with my readers. So thank you for sharing that story. That's, I'm like, I feel a big conviction moment right now. So thank you for that. In a good way, not in like a,
Okay.
not in like a, let me run.
You have to turn this off right now.
Yeah. I feel like, that's so, and I hope I'm not the only one that, can get so busy that we don't even, and he does care about your run yesterday. Like, that's another thing, is you are so important to him. We are valuable. We are worthy, and our identity is in him. So, like, you can talk to him about your run, and I think that's a huge lesson too, is like, he's so big, he's so grand, but he's so near, and he's so caring. So, well, I have enjoyed this conversation. You have so much wisdom to share, and I can't wait to tell everybody about your blog and read more. So
thank you. I'm so glad. I wish I could reach across and hug you and everybody that's watching this.
I know. I wish you could too. I totally do. Like I say, I mean, I hope that people pick up. I'm sure that they will. But Chelsia she's one of those people. Again, it was an elevator moment, and your eyes and your smile, and you were so real, so authentic, and encouraging, which was awesome for me, who was, again, outside of my comfort zone. Before bonus, so I haven't cut yet. I forgot to mention, I know a lot of people that read the blog love some Gem Hatmaker. So can you share a little bit about your recent experience with Miss Jen and her new book?
Yeah, super fun, crazy. Well, it was a lifetime thing, I think. Earlier this year, she had posted a quick thing on her Facebook saying, hey, I'm going to be launching a book. If you want to be on my launch team, here's the application. I was running out the door, and I'm like, oh, I have a few seconds, whatever. I'll just throw my name in there. What can it hurt? So it got to the essay part, and it said oh, tell us why you want to, do this. You have a limit of 500 words or something crazy. I'm like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So I just something like, I love Jen Hatmaker. I love to read. I love Jesus. I'd like to be on the launch team. Period. That was pretty much it. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I got on the launch team. 500. I was one of the 500. There was 5,000 that applied. So it became this amazing community, this Facebook group. It's a picture of what I would call the church. People from all different denominations all over the world, and interact daily. There's tons of posts. So it became this amazing community. And somebody had thrown out there hey, we should go, join Jen Hatmaker at her house for a party. And Jen wrote on there, because she writes on the launch team Facebook page regular, and she wrote, yes, let's do that. So last week I got to go to her house, and 200 of the 500 could make it, and we had margaritas and tacos and hung out and got to spend time with Jen and her family, and it was just such a sweet, one of those grace moments where I was like, whoa, Jesus, you are just too good. It was just really a fun experience. Love me some Jen. She's so awesome.
That is awesome. That is so great. Yeah, I love me some Jen as well. I want to read her new book. And I think that's neat too, that you talk about the community that formed, and it was online. This is a thing that's totally fascinating me right now, because, both of us spend a lot of our time online, and so many of our friends and family, who do it, for writing or just in life, there's no really getting around it. But how does that look, taking community offline, taking it from online to offline? And I think that's so neat that you did have authentic community. It is possible. And then, this thing happened. So that's just encouraging to me that, those things are happening, and God does work, on the internet. So it's cool.
He does. God really is present on the internet.
Yeah.
It really is true.
Yeah. So that's cool. Awesome. Well, thank you again, and I hope you have a good afternoon, and I will hopefully see you on the internet. So.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.